I step out of the annoyingly small prison of a car I had been in for quite a few days to see a strikingly beautiful world. There were tall palm trees lining the quaint streets of the small ocean town, but the real attraction was the surprisingly calm waters of the sea. They were so calm it was eerie, but in the most beautiful way. The water was bright blue and reflected all the light that hit its surface. I was used to the rough crashing waves of surf beaches and had not spent much time around still water, so I suppose this could have added to my curiosity. After setting up the campsite, I proceeded to the water's edge with a group of lifeguards in training, whom were around my same age. I had met them earlier when my tent decided it wanted to fly in the wind. They assured me it was perfectly safe and waded in to the clear, warm water. Suddenly, I looked to my left, shocked to see something that either was or closely resembled a crocodile. It wasn't in the water, but it was remarkably close. Kansas is tropical, so it shouldn't have been a surprise, but it certainly made me question what other dangers I had ignored. Apparently, the water I was swimming in is home to the deadly box jellyfish and vicious currents, depending on location and time of day. Great. I was about 70 yards out in this apparently deadly water with a bunch of lifeguards in training. I made sure to thank them afterwards for doing their job so well. Nevertheless, I somehow managed not to fall victim to any of the dangers, although at one point I was remarkably close to a jellyfish. We all have ideas made up in our minds of how things ought to be. Prior to the swimming incident, I saw the water as a still, beautiful oasis, and I wasn't necessarily wrong. But there was so much more to this calm ocean than just its outward beauty, than just what I first saw and knew. There's a hidden world under the surface that presented dangers, trials, beauty, but most of all, life. Life that was hidden, but was just as important as what first caught the eye. No photo on the internet, nor story told or written, can capture this hidden life. Today, we, the human race, are often satisfied to know about things, but not experience the world. We live in the world of our ultra-fast Google Earth, exploring this earth for what it looks like, but forgetting what it is. We are a race currently driven by facts and images, leaving out the connection, leaving out the relationship. This is a dangerous way to live, disconnected, but still seeing. Connections and relationships, but understanding, trust, love, and the desire to do well by another, fostering a world of hope, peace, and unity. Over the course of my travels in Australia, I saw time and time again people who knew about another culture, but were far from connected to it. The most notable conversation I had while being in Australia was with an elder of an Aboriginal tribe in Cairns. Prior to the conversation, I spent many hours fishing and catching turtles with the teenagers and running through the shallow waters with the young children. At first, the Aboriginal tribe was very weary of me and did not trust that I was truly there to learn and talk to them. But due to the trust their children had in me, they slowly began to see that I was no danger to their way of life. After many hours spent with the children, I asked the elder what she wanted for her tribe in the future, politically and socially. She told me she wanted a separate state for the Aboriginal people, for there was simply no way to create a unified Australia. She stated, to the Aboriginal people, whites were simply seen as a dark villain of Aboriginal history, spoken about in hushed whispers. She also stated that to the whites, Aboriginal people were simply a part of ancient history, worthy of study, but nothing else. The conversation then went to a history lesson about the horrific atrocities the Caucasian settlers committed against the native people. I then apologized for how she and her people had to live through such an occurrence and was forced to conclude the conversation. Nevertheless, this conversation replayed through my head for many months after. I kept asking myself how we can move forward as a people, as a world. This conflict is one representative of many around the world, but centers back to a core problem. We, as human beings, fail to search for the hidden world. Unknowingly, the Aboriginal elder in her dark villain analogy perfectly described how the human race has begun to see each other as a collection of facts and adjectives, instead of bothering to be physically present and experiencing humans for what they really are. As we look forward to the future of our world, we must decide how we will interact with it. We can stay behind the interactive screens displaying a fact-based view of this interconnected world, or we can go out and experience it. Jesus displays a prime example of this, going out, living, breathing, and experiencing humans for what they are. God walked among us, seeing the beauty and the pain of our existence that isn't necessarily on display. God couldn't teach us otherwise. He couldn't show us how to be better, to be more just and wise, when God himself had not walked among us. Just as Jesus went out into the world to serve and learn about the lives of others, so should we. We can't hope to be a hopeful, peaceful, progressive world if we simply see each other as a collection of facts and adjectives, because we, the human race, are so much more. Thank you.